I have a little bit of time before I go into work today, and I thought I'd make a quick video for you all on a topic that I believe is very important, and it's likely going to be a topic that comes up for me later today as I work with different people. By the way, if you find the content of this channel or this video useful, consider liking, subscribing, and commenting. It'll help grow this channel. Now, the title of this video is Live Your Life, Not Your Mind. This is a common theme that I see, regardless of whether it's about people pursuing awakening, just trying to better their mental health, whether I'm talking to a friend, whether I'm talking to a therapy client, any type of person and any type of situation. This becomes a common point that I see so often. And I think the main reason for this is because most people don't consider their mind to just be a tool that is within who they are. Most people consider their mind as who they are. They equate themselves to their mind, their thoughts, their feelings, whatever it is that's going on in their mental space. They equate those things to who they are. And when they do that, they inevitably get into problems because, as anyone can say, you can't really control your mind fully, right? If you try to control yourself from having a certain kind of thought, or you control your mind in trying to have a certain kind of feeling, it limits you and it will more or less do what it wants. So, famous, well known, if you see a therapist, they might have you do this at some point, especially in cognitive behavioral therapy. For the next 60 seconds, do not think of white polar bears, right? And then you see what the person does, and more likely than not, they do, in fact, think of a white polar bear. And the tricky part here is that even if they don't think about the white polar bear, they are still spending their mental resources trying to control that type of thought. So this is another problem that we see, right? Instead of living their life, people try to control or live different parts of their mind, whether it's in the positive or the negative sense. For most people, they have a certain kind of thought, a certain kind of feeling, and then it holds them back. It keeps them from doing things that are meaningful in their life. Just recently, I saw someone who decided to go on a date with their wife, try and, spice up, rekindle the relationship a little bit. And they were unable to do so because they had severe trauma symptoms that made them very fearful of going out in public spaces. Anxiety, right? This fear of the unknown, this fear of a reoccurrence of trauma symptoms. Unfortunately, it kept the person from going out because they were more afraid of how their mind might react as opposed to doing what it is they wanted, right? There's a huge discongruence here. On one level, this guy wants to go and spend time with his wife because the relationship is important to him. On another level, he doesn't go out because the mental distress weighs more for him, right? Avoidance of suffering is more meaningful. As bad as it is to say, it's more meaningful or more salient than his desire to do something with his wife and do something with his relationship. I'm sure all of you listeners can think of examples when this happens for yourself. The worst part is that this becomes more or less automatic in many kinds of ways if you don't recognize it or have the awareness for what is going on. Many people have a certain thought or feeling, and then that can ruin their entire day, right? Just one thought, just one feeling, it comes up, changes the course of the entire day, and then that person struggles. When you do that, when you buy into these thoughts, you're reinforcing this kind of pattern. And when that happens, it's going to cause more and more difficult reactions from your mind that are very challenging to control. So, what do we do here? How do we handle this kind of situation, which I'm sure is common for everybody? How do you control different parts of your mind? How do you keep yourself from getting stuck in your thoughts and moving towards actually living your own life? Well, it starts from retraining your relationship with your own mind. This is easier said than done. right? Oftentimes people talk about different mindfulness practices or little things you can do for 5 minutes. I'm talking about an entire lifestyle change here. The very way that you interact with your mind and the types of sufferings and challenges that you have, those are all consequences of how you have engaged with your own mind and your own behaviors in the past. Those things pile up and add on as time goes on. It's not really a surprise, right? It should be pretty straightforward in terms of conditioning, reinforcement strategies, basic behavioral, psychological principles at play. As you do and as you think, so you become, and that cycle continues on and on. The way to break this chain is to become aware of what you are doing. Your mind and your brain are very good at saving resources. What this means is that if you are doing something, like let's say you're driving to work and you've done this 100 times, your brain's going to make shortcuts. It's going to make easier ways, more automatic ways to do these kinds of things because it doesn't want to waste resources. In the same kind of way, when you have different types of thought patterns that are more or less automatic, those patterns are going to run efficiently because that's the game you're playing every day. Whether it's a battle with anxiety, a battle with addiction, a battle with depression, those kinds of patterns get reinforced and go on and on. The way to break this, and just about any pattern of the mind, is through attention, starting with becoming aware of what you are doing and what it is that is going on, breaking this pattern of automaticity. This is a common mechanism of action for psychological change that you will see in just about any type of therapy and any type of literature. Once you become aware of something, that allows you to make a change because you're breaking a pattern of behavior and habit. So when you do this, now you're basically re-examining what's on the table, right? Instead of seeing the puzzle as a completed piece, now you're seeing the different lines in the puzzle. You can reconfigure what you want. You're recognizing the problem. That's a great way to start. And again, the way to cultivate attention and to build attention, there's a number of different ways to do this. Meditation is a great way to start for a lot of people. And if that means doing a 5 minute mindfulness practice every day as a starting point, that is totally fine. I'm going to make a later video, most likely, on different types of meditation in terms of basic, advanced, short term, long term strategies. Truly, you should be able to apply these things as they work for you. So when you build this type of attention and you become aware of what's going on, it gives you a gate to implement change. Where you apply this change is going to be based on what it is you want from your own life. Instead of running based on anxiety or addiction, what do you want to do in its place? You need to find meaning here. You can't just live life without really having a direction, right? I mean, some people can, but for most people, that's not really the case. You need some kind of direction on what it is you want to do. What is your goal? What is your intention? What is your plan? When you map these kinds of things out, it helps you determine what to do in place of this initial thing. Because if you don't have something to do in place, your brain's just going to go back to doing what it was doing in the first place. Recognizing this pattern and making a change is really all you need to do. Even if it's a small change, even if you can only do this like once a week as a starting point, it is a good place to start. Once you start, you recognize the pattern, you've made a change, and you continue this, things will eventually build up, right? Just like when you fill up a pot with water, right? If you're just going drop by drop, eventually you will fill up that pot as long as you're going in the right direction. This is one level that we can take it, right? Living your life, not your mind. You can change the patterns in terms of how your mind is operating. There's a second level that we can take here, and this level is much more advanced and much more difficult to master, and it's more of what I teach on this channel. So if this is beyond what seems doable or realistic for you at this point, and you have an interest in applying some of these things, that's totally fine. Start at a place that's comfortable for you and then work your way up. This second stage is not really about changing patterns of your mind per se, like having different thought patterns or different feelings that are directed towards what's meaningful for you. This is more so about just being able to completely wipe out different functions of your mind when you need to. Now, I know that sounds really drastic, but this is more like instead of having a thought versus not having a thought, it's just turning that entire mechanism off entirely, right? This default mode network or different ways of thinking, thoughts, patterns that go through your head, you can turn that off entirely. You can silence it out. It is possible. It takes a lot of practice, but you can definitely do it. Think about how this works, right? If your mind is the problem, you identify that different problematic thought processes are causing you suffering and difficulty. Turn my microphone. See if that reconnects. Yeah, there we go. If you recognize that, you could make a change or you could remove that cause entirely, right? It's a very simple analysis. If you remove the parts of your mind that are giving you thoughts or feelings, you take those things away, then they can't really cause suffering or hardship for you, right? Now that goes both ways, right? Because if you're shutting that function down, it shuts down everything. And that may or may not be what you want to do at a given moment. So that's something for you to consider. But regardless, the way you do this is the same way that you do the first part of what I talked about, right? Building that attention, becoming aware of what's going on. But instead of making a change, you just stay still. You stay silent to what it is that's going on. It's kind of like a behavioral extinction, right? If you want to stop a behavior, how do you stop it? You stop fueling what it is that's keeping the behavior going. And for most people, that is attention. Your attention is what makes you conscious of a behavior, and it's what makes you do a behavior to a good extent. So if you remove the fuel, then those things eventually die off. Now, a fire can, as an example, it can tantrum a little bit, right? It can spray up a little bit, it can get a little bit stronger before it dies out. It depends on the situation. The same way, your behaviors and your thoughts will do the same thing. If someone is in the midst of an anxiety attack and you try to sit still, the anxiety gets worse temporarily, right? It's trying to pull your attention. Hey, this is the pattern we've always done. This is what we've always done. Let's keep it going. That's what your brain is thinking, at least. But if you can stay still to this, just observe, just attend and be aware without engaging, without adding fuel to that fire, it will eventually die off. This is really hard to do, but in my experience and my work with patients, when they do this successfully the first time, it is life changing. It is absolutely life changing. They realize that they had these capabilities they've never had before. Hey, there's different parts of my mind that I'm in charge of, right? My mind is not in charge of me. I don't have to do what my mind says. It's the other way around. My mind will do what I say. My mind is a tool that I can use or not use. When you build that capability, it allows you to shut down or build certain types of functions, right? Different thought processes. If you don't want thoughts, if you want to just be still and silent, you can do that. If you want to have thoughts, you can let your mind run. It's in your control. That's the greatest place you can be, right? Instead of having a mind that runs wild, does whatever it wants to do, and causes you suffering, you can just turn it off and turn it on at your will, like a light switch. It takes a lot of attention and mastery to do this. But again, it is possible, and it's the same way that the previous step works. Little by little, you can build yourself to this point. So when you get to that point, when you're able to quiet your mind down, you're able to be much freer. You're able to live life in ways that are easier, more clean, better for your mental health, because you're not running around with this annoying apartment neighbor, this annoying tenant who just keeps talking, keeps chatting, keeps causing an annoyance for you. Your mind is absolutely useful and helpful. It's great to have thoughts. It's great to have feelings. It's great to have all these things. But sometimes you want to control the volume on what's going on there, right? Sometimes you don't want thoughts. Sometimes you just want to observe, be at peace, be blissful. Imagine if you could make that your default state, which, by the way, is possible and it's something that I'm trying to approach from many different angles to help people understand, because I don't think it's talked about enough. People often talk about dealing with your mind. They don't talk about the fact that you can just silence out different functions entirely. Imagine what it's like if you can do this on an ongoing basis, right? You can just quiet out these different parts that cause you suffering, hardship, and difficulty. When you stop fueling them, when you take away the attention, the feelings, strong emotions, right? Strong thought processes, when you quiet these down and you become still to these problematic processes, it's very peaceful because you are quite literally pulling the roots of what is causing you suffering. It doesn't matter what kind of disorder you might have. If we want to use the DSM terms, right? If we have an alcohol use disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, major depressive disorder, even if you have schizophrenia, this isn't necessarily going to stop the other parts of your mind that are problematic in terms of hallucinations, delusions, disorganized speech, so on. But there are parts that you can control to a good extent. It's really interesting because this same kind of mechanism applies for a disorder as impactful as schizophrenia, right? I'm not saying that you can cure schizophrenia just by controlling your mind, but you can certainly help a number of symptoms here, right? This ability to completely quiet out functions. It still remains to be seen how this spans between healthy and clinical populations. There haven't really been research studies on this per se, but definitely there has been literature to show this helps across any type of population. So, again, the key takeaway here is regardless of what you do with your mind, we're changing the relationship to it, right? Whether it's changing your thought processes or just completely quieting it out when needed, we're changing that relationship so that you can live your life the way that you want to. What is more important than that? Literally, the way you live your life. How many people are stuck and held back by their own minds, their own thoughts, their own suffering, and that lives their life for them? Because that's really the bottom line here. If you can't control these things, they're going to control you. And when they control you, you're not going to be able to do things that are meaningful for yourself. Your life is going to be more about the avoidance of suffering as opposed to pursuing meaning. If you're able to pursue meaning, it's a much nicer place to be because you're doing what is valuable for yourself. And that can come up in any different form, right? I'm not just talking about the psychology of awakening here. This isn't just about heading towards awakening, enlightenment, whatever it is. This is also about everyday life. This is about your ability to work a job, to have a relationship, whether it's with yourself or with other people, how you carry yourself in your day to day life. Wherever you go, your mind is with you. You're not going to escape, right? So, what you do instead is you change the way you manage your own mind. That's where you can maintain control for yourself. And when you do this, you open up the doors so that you can live life in ways that are meaningful for yourself.